Hello friends, so today's video is going to be ranting about some fictional people, and I hate these characters. Sometimes a character that you hate can make a book. It's what drives you to keep going, it's what makes you want the hero to take them down, and then sometimes some characters are so unbearable that you're like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to hate you, and you're ruining this book for me. We have a mix of both in this video. I'm going to just go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to start with the obligatory Sanderson books because, you know, I love Sanderson and he writes some characters that you hate. And I will say I feel like the hatred I have for these characters did enhance these books. I know some of you are like, don't you dare mention our baby boy Adolin. I'm not mentioning Adolin. I find him mildly annoying, okay? I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I don't hate him like I hate the characters in these. I'm actually not going to name the characters, which seems kind of besides the point of ranting about them. But two things. I want to keep this non-spoiler. And then also, if you know who I'm talking about, you'll know who I'm talking about. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, it won't matter. Because just describing this character and why I hate them, you'll be like, yeah, they do sound like the worst. So, the two characters come from, specifically in Mistborn, the second book, The Well of Ascension. This character exists in the first one, but you don't hate them till the second. And then the other character would be in the Stormlight Archive. So, we'll start with Stormlight Archive, okay? There is a character that they're great because you're like, yeah, I hate them. And I should probably not just grunt and say I hate them as my explanation. This character is the type of character that they do just the worst stuff. And you're like, well, that's it, right? They got caught. People know now. They're going down. And then they don't. And then they get away with stuff. And you're like, when is somebody going to kill them? When is somebody going to kill them? And I say that because it's a fictional character. It's not a real human being, right? But this character, you're like, somebody needs to take them out. And then they're great because they're so good at getting out of stuff. And it's so frustrating. And they're kind of close to the mustache twirling type of villain, right? Because they're just so rotten. They're not really compelling, in my opinion. Like, you get glimpses of them back in the day, and you're like, I mean, I get that you're kind of a product of your society, but still, I couldn't stand them, but in the best of ways. Character in Mistborn. This person is just a awful human being. They are awful. And they do some things where, you know, you kind of question a little bit, like, are you just kind of trying to find the most twisted, disgusting things this person can do? Or what's another thing on the checklist of bad guy type of behavior that we need to fulfill? And you know what? It worked. You know, when a villain is just so classically a villain that it sort of works for you and you're not all that picky about how complex they are. You just hate them. Sometimes you need that character, right? And I feel like you get that with this person. They're twisted, and they do one of the most disgusting things they do is that there's a character who they're essentially kind of afraid of, or that poses a threat to them. So they have we'll call it a, you know, bedroom slave who looks like this person, and you're like, I want you to die. I want you to get stabbed in the face or the throat or anywhere. Really, I don't care. You're disgusting. That's how I feel about this character. And I feel like everybody else does too. I hope. I hope nobody's like, you know, when people say like, so-and-so did nothing wrong. They say that about a character in Stormlight. But nobody says that for this character. Because they absolutely did lots of things wrong. Lots of things. That one thing I mentioned, that's one thing. They do lots of gross stuff. By the way, the person I was describing in Stormlight Archive, there's another character that you might be like, wait, which one are you talking about? Let's just say both. They're both like that. There's two characters in Stormlight. And you know what? They're both really good at using their positions, their power to just keep being awful. And I hate both of them. Let's switch to a character that my frustrations with them did not enhance my reading experience. And the thing is, I actually do feel for this character a lot. They're a little too tunnel visioned for me, and that would be Tao from Rage of Dragons. My friend Alex, we have a group chat where Alex is basically the only person that really liked Rage of Dragons. I'm sorry, Alex. I'm sorry that I had to bring it up. But, okay, so Tao, their society is built on a class system, and he's one of the lower classes, and again, it's you know, kind of the classic, they're helpless, and they don't really have any power in their own life, and if somebody in a higher position wants to do something and get away with it, they can, and it's awful and it's unfair. And there's a lot to the story that is sort of relating to, you know, our own life and our own world, and I think for those reasons I feel for this character. But man, the amount of times that they're so incredibly reckless. And the one scene that always gets pointed out, and I'm sorry I have to mention it, is there's like this one part where there's this person that our character has wanted to take out for so long, and they have a shot, and there's this paragraph about how they're going to approach them like a snake in the grass, and the person will never see them coming, and they're finally going to get them. And then he just shouts like, I'm going to get you, basically. That's not his exact words, but he just shouts and announces his presence and starts charging at the guy like a bull, and it's a very poor decision, and he does that kind of stuff a lot, and sometimes his decisions end up having other people be affected. Sometimes other people are harmed, and these people are nice people. They're his pals. And you're like, Tao, just cool it and think for a second. And that's kind of the point. I think that's kind of the point, is revenge stories are often, because that's what Rage of Dragons is, they're often, is this really worth it, right? That's kind of is the payoff worth the price? And I think it's exploring that for sure. It's hard for me to root for you when you make some pretty, not just questionable, just very poor decisions. Next up, we have a book. Sorry, I'm still sick, if you couldn't tell. Next up, we have a book that a part of me is wondering, Aaron A. Craig, who do you know? Because that's a real person, right? You know how there's the joke where authors are like, don't cross me, I might write you in my story. Which I feel like most authors don't actually do that. But I kind of wonder about this one. So the book is Small Favors. I read it rather recently, and I really enjoyed it. Do not be deceived by this cover. It is not cheery and cute and happy. It is creepy and scary, and I really liked it. And the character's brother, I don't even remember this guy's name. I couldn't be bothered to remember his name because he is the worst. And okay, the character I was describing in Mistborn, about as disgusting as you can be, right? And also, we don't need to be like listing examples of other, like, well, this might actually be more disgusting. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's disgusting, gross, terrible. This guy is just, you know him, you know this type, right? Where I'm gonna give an example, and if you don't want like any spoilers, I'll put a timestamp so you can skip ahead. But I don't think this ruins the reading experience. However, I want to be sensitive to those that don't want this ruined for them. So there's a girl that he's been sneaking off with, and this girl is pregnant, and it's like really small town setting. Everybody knows everybody, and it's, you know, like, I don't know how much they're going to be thrilled that this unmarried young woman is pregnant kind of thing. But she's really excited that she's pregnant, and she loves the brother, right? This girl, his girlfriend, I'll call her. She loves him very much. I'm sure some of you already know where this is going. So she tells our main character, Ellery, she's like, I really love your brother. This is really serious. In fact, I'm pregnant. I'm scared, but I'm so excited, and I love him so much. I haven't told him, you know. She's all cute and excited for her baby. And then the sister tells him, Ellery, the main character, tells him, like, hey, like, she's pregnant, and she told me about you guys and your relationship, and I'm so excited for you. I'm so thrilled, whatever. And he's like, it's not mine. And then he starts instantly accusing her of just basically being, you know, he just starts saying all these terrible things about this girl that he supposedly loved and insisting, he's just and that's the tip of the iceberg. You would think that would be like the entire iceberg, but it's not. This guy is the worst over everything, every single thing. Like, the girl, our main character, Ellery, will be trying to get stuff done. She's trying to take care of the family. Weird, creepy stuff is happening, and they live on a farm, and things are going wrong, and, like, he'll just take stuff and screw his whole family over, and you're like, you're the worst. And I would say it enhanced my reading experience. You know, I gotta say, I hated him, but he wasn't the main character, first off, so that's a relief. But also, just, he was so selfish. He was so cruel. He was the kind of, like, I feel like a lot of people who have dysfunctional families, or who have that person in their family that just makes life so much worse for everybody else. Or just in general, you know the type, right? So he's so the worst in a realistic way. And I think it made it that much more of a thing for me. I constantly, and like I'd be listening to the audiobook, like, I don't know, like doing my hair or whatever, and he would do something, I'm like, this guy. Like I had a lot of reactions. Again, a lot of grunting. I hate him. Next up, haven't brought up this series in a little while, we have a Fireborn and a sequel, Flamefall. So I don't actually hate anybody really in Fireborn. I do hate 2 people in Flamefall. One of them, the one that's more obviously the villainous character, I actually hate less than this other person. So I can name the one that's like an obviously villainous character. So if you don't know, the first book, Fireborn, follows these 2 characters that are kind of from opposite ends of what society used to be, because there was a revolution and society has changed, but one character was a part of the upper class in the previous society, one character was from the lower class. Now everybody is supposedly equal, but we're looking at the effects of a revolution, right? And we're seeing, like, is this new form of government really better than the previous form of government? There's a lot of trauma with our 2 main characters. In the second book, what's great is that, you know, in the first one, you question, is this really better? And it's all based off of what you remember, or the characters remember of the past, some of which don't remember a lot because they were so young. But in the sequel, we actually see an area where we kind of still have this class system, and you see the flaws of the old ways. So it's great because it's examining the flaws of both. And in this particular area, there's a character who is part of the upper class, and it's like they get a thrill and a kick out of mistreating people in the lower classes. And there are dragons in this series, but otherwise it's pretty much historical fiction. And still, though, the dragons, I mean, if you're the kind of if you're the kind of person who has a hard time with things relating to, you know, like harming an animal, I know the dragons aren't actually real, but this will be tough to read because one of the characters is just, his name, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I think it's pronounced like Ixion, like the one summon in Final Fantasy X. So this person just, if you are beneath him in the status of their, you know, class system, he's going to make your life miserable. And also, what's interesting is that because of this revolution that happened over here, there's now fear that the lower classes are going to rise up over here, and so they're kind of trying to put their foot down even more, or at least this character is. And they're just a bully. They're like your classic bully character, and they're, I hate them. But the other character, oh my gosh. So I'm not going to name this other character because they're not technically a villain. And my friend Jade from the channel Bedtime Bookworm, because she read this around when I did, and I was like, did you hate them as much as I did? And she was like, I think I hated Ixion more. And I was like, how? This other character is, so, okay. You know, I don't want to get into, I don't want to dismiss anybody's feelings about the world, our own world or anything. But, like, you know how there's people who are, like, so on one end. I'm not trying to say, like, either, like, they're really liberal, really conservative. I'm not saying that, but, like, you know, the extremes, the people that are super, super, super extreme. And you're like, the most they can do is get upset on social media, right? What if that wasn't the most they could do? What if this person that, like, gets all riled up all the time actually had a huge influence, and that influence was based in them not really knowing the whole situation? Like, they know some of what they're saying is true, and you're like, yeah, but your methods are so messed up, and also you think you're, like, bringing truth to the people, but you're actually screwing everything up for everybody. Oh my gosh. Oh, this character. I mean, I'm just going to end every single one of the books that I talk about with, like, I hate them, but I really do. They might be, like, if I were to rank these characters, it's hard for me it's hard for them to be beat. I really don't like them. All right, calming down a little bit. These next 2 characters, I don't hate as much as some of these other characters, but they were frustrating to me. So I'm sorry, Patrick. And I think Mina from Mina Reads also likes this character a lot, and that would be Hilo from Jade City, the Greenbone saga. So Hilo is just a hothead. I'm not a fan of the hothead characters. There's not really a whole lot else to say. He's just a hothead. And I don't like him. And then another character would be Bran, not from A Song of Ice and Fire, but from the book Hood, which is a Robin Hood retelling. And Bran kind of ruined the book for me. Like, I gotta say, speaking of characters we hate, I really did hate some of the characters in this book, and it was actually what made me so excited to see the latter half of the story, when I was thinking, like, this Robin Hood character is going to take this guy down, and I was really pumped for it, but he's so whiny. He's instead just the whiniest, and I feel he does something. I'm gonna say mild spoilers, so again, I'll put a timestamp if you want to skip. I don't personally think that this ruins the experience, but again, just trying to be sensitive. So, the end of the book, we have, maybe he grows in the next ones. I don't know. I don't care to find out. But he hits a girl in the face, right? He hits a girl. He smacks her, and she tells him, like, and I'm pretty sure this character is supposed to be the character, like his love interest from the whole Robin Hood story, right? He hits this girl, and then she's like, don't hit me again. And he's like, don't give me a reason to. And I was like, nope. If I were one to throw books, I probably would have thrown it. Because I'm like, no, sir. No, I don't. And I did have somebody say, like, I like a morally gray Robin Hood. I think that's cool. And I think that really embraces the whole point of Robin Hood. It's like, is he really that much better? And I'm like, yeah, because he's stealing. I'm not trying to dismiss their feelings. Like, I think the concept of a very morally gray Robin Hood is cool from the perspective of, like, he's a criminal, but I want my Robin Hood to be a charmer. I want him to respect the ladies, you know? I don't want him smacking them. Ugh. So maybe I do hate him a lot. I also hated the antagonist, but I hated the antagonist in the way I feel like you're supposed to hate the antagonist. Anyway, the last one I'm going to mention, there's a antagonistic character, well, not antagonistic. That implies that they're, like, kind of. There is a very not great character in the Winnowing Flame trilogy. And I was so frustrated with them, but they were so compelling, and sometimes I'm like, I kind of get it. So even though I hated them, I didn't hate them that much. There is another character, though, which this is another situation where I can't really say their name because I don't want to spoil this. It is a spoiler, I feel like, to say that this character turns out to be awful. But there's a character who is somebody who, like, they mistreat those who care for them so much. I actually, if you would like to see spoilers and an elaboration on this point, I was invited to chat about this trilogy with some other lovely booktubers, so I'll have that video linked down below. It starts non-spoiler, and then we go to spoilers. So this character, though, there will be people that have gone so above and beyond to be there for this person, and this person just couldn't care less, and on top of that, acts like, well, you don't really understand, though, what I've been through. Even though everybody's going through it in this series. Everybody is going through it in this series. And they just are like, well, nobody understands. So that gives me a reason to just do whatever I want, and to also, I'm going to do some pretty bad things. But it's because people just don't understand. And we all hated that character. So it's not just me. The three of us who were chatting about it were all like, yeah, they're awful. And they really are. They take people's love for granted, and they take the little things and the big things. I mean, there's nothing, this character is just I think this is what it is with this character. Clearly, from things you know of how they used to be, they were the kind of character that, of course, it was easy to be a decent human being when things were going well. But as soon as things weren't going well, it's like they've decided they no longer have to be held accountable for anything that they say and do. They disregard other people's feelings. And I guess it's one of those things where they're awful in a realistic way. For those of you who would like to chat spoilers about specific characters, maybe you know who I'm referring to, just make sure to write spoilers in your comments so that people who haven't read it aren't spoiled if they take a glance at the comment section. And then also let me know who are some characters that you absolutely hate. I would love to know. Let me know if they made the reading experience better or if they actually kind of ruined the book for you. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening to me rant and repeat myself over and over again and grunt at you a lot. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.